fire. Give me reason, take me higher. See the champions.
Booming economy, sustainable, green energy, free trade agreements, educated, jobs, empowered women, business transactions, transforming Africa. We promised Africa to deliver the promise of Africa. Investment for Africa Forum 2019 under the high patronage of His Excellency Abdel Fattah El-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt and Chairman of the African Union.
One more time, like you really mean it, like you really believe in this agenda. Welcome everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, Abdel Fattah El-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt and Chairman of the African Union. Heads of government, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as they say in Lagos and now all over Africa, all protocols duly observed. Welcome to the 2019 Investment in Africa Forum, the first to be held here in Egypt's new administrative capital, a symbol of the and all over Africa. I'm Henry Bonsu. Well, that's what they call me in London, but in Accra and Kumasi they call me Henry Nana Kwame Ose Bonsu. I thought you would like that name. So my roots lie in Ghana, which has a special bond with Egypt through its first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and his wife, Fatia, who is Egyptian. We here are also bonded by our common interest in African investment. And here at Africa's premier forum of its kind, we'll be discussing everything from impact investment. Look at the themes: sustainability, free trade agreements, education, resilience. All of these things are core to what we're discussing here in Egypt. But let's remember, before we get into the deep discussions, today's Africa is confident. It is youthful. It is vibrant. So before we start, we want to unite you, to bring you together in your core and your spirit, through culture, through music and rhythm. And I'm delighted to say we have artists from all across this beautiful continent of Africa. Please welcome Dembo from the Gambia. Show them your love. From Ghana we have Della. From Morocco, welcome Mehdi. And from Egypt, we have Amin. Yes, he is. And gentlemen, you are artists from all over the continent. We would like you to get us seated here in the mood. Please unite us through music. Sorry. Are you hearing what I'm hearing? I think we need more harmony, more unity, more coordination. So gentlemen, once again, please harmonize, listen to each other, and connect with each other as we must across Africa. Try again, please.
اوكي يلا نلعب لحظة واحد يلا نقرب يلا
Let us try join together.
Put your hands together for these talented musicians from all over Africa. Are you not proud of them? Show them some love, please. They were wonderful. Take a bow. You were amazing. You see, this shows what can happen when people come together with a common interest. Theirs is music. Ours is investment in Africa. Thank you very much indeed. Wonderful musicians. Now, we have to put into practice what they have sung about. So please, I hope you're in the mood. Are you ready? Come on, I know you can do better. You are in the new administrative capital. This is a symbol of the rising Egypt and the rising Africa. Are you ready to discuss impact investments? No, okay. Are you ready for resilience? Are you educated? Some of you are. Are you dynamic? Then we shall begin. Are you ready? Come on, let's go for it. Wonderful. Okay. I think we are now in the mood. So let's get this started. We are delighted all to be gathered here for the premier forum of its kind. And I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker. She is the Minister of Investment and International Cooperation from the Arab Republic of Egypt. Please put your hands together for Dr. Saha Nasr, Minister of Investment and International Cooperation.
In the name of Allah, the merciful, most compassionate, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, President of Egypt, heads of governments, ministers, representatives of the private sector, representatives of international organizations, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you here in Egypt at the Africa 2019 Investment for Africa Forum. President Sisi is honoring us with his presence as the President of Egypt and as the Chair of the African Union. Is sending a big message that this is the most important economic gathering in Africa. We're meeting for the first time in the new administrative capital we're proud of, and which is built by strong young Egyptians working day and night to accomplish this big task. I would like to welcome you here in the new administrative capital.
إن وجودنا اليوم يعكس
Our
رغبة
presence
صادقة
here reflects a sincere desire to continue the efforts we started several years ago to build our continent and to face the challenges that the world economy is facing. This renders it imperative on us to join hands and to build on the achievements that have been made. We have gone well ahead for promoting economic development in the fields of investment, trade, and development. President Sisi's instructions during his chairmanship of Africa to accelerate cooperation between Egypt and its African brethren. This year, we have seen on the ground, we have witnessed more than 154 projects in energy, renewable energy, agriculture, and other fields. It is worth noting that Africa Forum this year will witness the signing of several agreements for further partnership between governments and private sector. We will declare mobilization of new flows in our continent amid negative investment, developments and challenges. Our conference is being held at this backdrop. It's a practical step for further flows into Africa to enable the private sector to provide opportunities and provide better living standards for citizens. Despite the drop in foreign direct investment by 13% compared to the previous year, Africa recorded the highest world degree in investment. The increase was 11%. For this reason, throughout the past 2 days, we held workshops with ministers of economy, investment, trade and industry in African countries to draw a common vision to boost and promote investment, promote trade, and we agreed to draw what will put Africa on the world investment map under the slogan of Made in Egypt. As we are looking for outside-the-box solutions to enable Africa to have its fair share of economic development, the forum will focus on the main pillars for development: investment in infrastructure, operationalization of free trade agreements, energy and renewable energy, digital transformation, and investment in human resources, empowering youth and women. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Africa, we have vast opportunities, and they have been translated into fast growth rate in several countries. According to the IMF, 6 out of 10 fastest growing economies in the world were in Africa. This makes us optimistic and keen to continue what we have started. In this context, the forum in its first session will discuss means of promoting means of cooperation between governments and private sector. And we also draw attention to the importance of the international organizations supporting the acceleration and development through new mechanisms. In an expanded session, we will discuss drawing executive steps to generate greater attention to industry in view of the value added achievement it has recorded through expanding industrializations, industrial areas, and special industrial zones to attract investment, as well as benefit from the foreign free trade agreement between the Latin America and the Caribbean through inter-African promotion of imports and exports. We work for digital transformation to keep pace with the vast technological development. We call on the forum to discuss investment in this sector with a special emphasis on enabling our youth to deal with emerging technologies, smart intelligence, and other developments. We work for providing more job opportunities to develop innovations among youth. African countries are working for creating an enabling environment and funds. The forum will give the youth a chance to mention their success stories as responsible youth capable of assuming responsibilities worldwide. Africa is first worldwide in encouraging women, business women, and entrepreneurs. We will deal with challenges facing women in business. We are in our African country have a promising youth bulge. Investment in human resources is in health, education, training, and development of skills for further economic development and production by countries. In a high-level discussion workshop, we will discuss what Egypt has taken to promote competitiveness and promote further participation by the private sector in development. Egypt launched an unprecedented project that led to unprecedented success drawn up by the presidency, and it aims at improving investment through institutional infrastructure, international methods. This has led to more than 3,000 projects establishing free trade zones for exportation. In parallel, an infrastructure updated and developed tremendously. International organizations present with us have praised this model as a model to be followed. International reports said Egypt as at the helm by several indexes. Egypt is at the lead of 15 countries in the competitiveness world report, and Egypt is also among the 5 fastest economies that made the growth. Egypt's position improved 6 positions in improving its position in business standards and indexes by the World Bank. As for political and economic stability, they have a tremendous effort in the indicators on risk by OECD. Egypt is proceeding to the green area. This reflected on Egypt being the first African countries as an investment attractor for the second successive year, according to UNCTAD. Ladies and gentlemen, achieving just and sustainable development requires sustainable work and encouragement of investment. prospects by international organizations for Africa are more positive and optimistic. This renders it imperative on us to shoulder responsibility for reform and directing our potential to make Africa an attracting hub for world investment. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, Africa and the future, we join and have a common future. Together we're one. With work and production, we achieve the required development. Today is a chance for a successful future project that will open the door for our youth for a bright future. We are determined to continue what we have started and to carry out the march of building for a more investment and a more development continent, flourishing Africa. Long live Africa, long live Egypt. God's peace and mercy be upon you.
Land of beauty, inspiration, unlimited resources, and abundant opportunities. With 6 of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world, highest global rate of growth for FDI inflows in 2018, steady economic growth rate of 3.5% in 2018, the largest global industry destination, a thriving market for renewable energy, a booming momentum for digital transformation, a wide talent pool of eager, visionary, and pioneer young women and men, promising entrepreneurs and innovative startups, huge marketplace of businesses and consumers, further broadened with the African Continental Free Trade Agreements officially going into force in 2019. The prospects for an integrated Africa are encouraging, with a market of more than 1.2 billion people and a GDP of more than $3 trillion. The continent is repositioning itself in the global market as an emerging economic power with a potential that's full of promise. In 2019, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, President of Egypt and the Chairman of the African Union, together with all African leaders, put forth a grand vision for our continent with a shared aspiration and a common goal, providing a commitment at the highest political level to strengthen economic ties through investments and commercial activities, enhancing integration through infrastructure mega projects like the 10,300 kilometers Cairo-Cape Town freeway, connecting 9 African countries from the north to the south of the continent, boosting prosperity and improving the quality of life for all African peoples.
إن قارتنا الإفريقية تمتلك من المقومات والموارد المتنوعة والموقع الجغرافي المتميز جنبا إلى جنب، مع ما لديها من إرادة سياسية ورؤية واضحة المعالم لتنفيذ الإصلاحات وإقامة مشروعات الربط والاندماج الإقليمي وتفعيل اتفاقية التجارة الحرة القارية.
On behalf of all African nations, Egypt invites the world's leading investors, financial institutions, and development partners to take part in the greatest transformation the continent has ever witnessed. To connect to Africa and connect with Africa, for the time couldn't be more perfect. Investment for Africa Forum 2019.
So there we have it. Africa, the land of opportunities, of beauty, of majesty, of diversity, and, so we believe, fairly limitless resources. But is it the Africa we want? And how are we going to get there? Well, I'm delighted that a number of participants will be joining me one by one on stage over there to give their perspective on how we're going to get there, the investment that is coming in and how they're involved and how they're going to catalyze this explosion that we saw on screen and make it a reality for all Africans. That's what we want. Our first participant is Mr. James Zahn, who is the Director of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. Please welcome Mr. James Zahn as he comes to the stage. James, thank you very much for being here. Now, UNCTAD has just published a UN World Investment Report on global investment saying that Africa is attracting FDI at a faster rate than any other region, as we saw in the film. This sounds great, but what are the factors behind this? And is this trend sustainable? The sustainable word we're all using. Please.
Yes. I think Africa, FDI growth outperformed any regions in the world. In fact, Africa enjoyed FDI growth by 11% last year, compared with the 13% of decline at the global level, on top of 24% of decline in 2017. And if we compare by regions, in fact, for Asia experienced investment growth about 4%, and for Latin America, it suffered from 6% of decline, and for Europe, FDI inflows was halved, so that was the major decline, and for the US, it was 9% of decline. That's why we said that Africa's growth in FDI outperformed any region in the world. Now, the drivers and determinants for such a kind of a growth, aside from the traditional factors, as we know, that the natural resources and the low cost of labor, there are new things happening. First, the trade preference, the preferential market access to major global market is becoming more and more important for investors as other regions suffered from the investment protectionism. And the trade wars are happening in different parts of the world. Secondly, we see major investing countries are still very much interested in promoting investment into Africa, into the continent, that is compared to other parts. For example, the most recent example is the United States, that the government has put in place an act to promote investment, in particular in Africa. And of course, there's also the initiative called the Belt and Road, and the European Union has also allocated special funds for promoting investment in Africa. And not to mention other countries like Japan, Korea, India, and some ASEAN countries like Singapore, Malaysia. So, the major outward investor countries are still putting efforts in investing in Africa. And African countries continue to improve its investment climate, as we have documented in our report that over the past couple of years, the new investment policy measures put in place that in favor of liberalization, improve of investment climate, promotion, protection, and facilitation of investment, Africa has the largest number of measures putting in place that facilitate tremendously the investment in Africa. Of course, we also see the tremendous demand of infrastructure, and that attracts investment. In the meantime, the rapid improvement of infrastructure, telecommunication, transportation, for example, and also facilitate new
James,
investment into the country.
Now, one more thing, because as in Ghana we say you have to land, which means you have to touch down. Quick thing, is it sustainable?
Yes, because of these determinants, the new ones I see that will continue, so Africa will continue to be the bright spot for international investment.
Wonderful. James Zahn, Director at UNCTAD, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank
on
you,
stage.
Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. As James was saying, there are a range of factors including market access, low cost of labor, preferential relations with external organizations. Let's talk to somebody who is actually in the thick of it. Now, this person is the chief executive of a company which invests in renewable energy, wind and solar, in Egypt and across Africa. So let's invite Dr. Chris Antonopoulos, the chief executive of Lekela. Please, Chris, come up on stage and talk to us about why you are so optimistic. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Chris. We had a chat backstage, and this man is full of optimism and energy. We have to bottle what he has and give it to everybody. It's fantastic. So, Chris, Lekela, you're investing in renewable energy and you're growing exponentially. Tell us about some of the major investments you're making and why you've decided to increase your footprint if, solar and wind can have a footprint across Africa.
Wow, Henry, what a fantastic intro. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's of course the key question. For us, renewable, and I think for all the companies which are involved in renewable power, Africa is indeed the land of opportunity. Why? Number one, the resources, the natural resources that Africa has are second to none, be it solar, wind, geothermal, hydro. You have the best resources here. Number two, the cost of the technology has come down dramatically, and the technology has matured to the extent that it is cheaper now than other sources of generation. However, having said that, you still see that the mix in the overall power generation of renewable power is only single digits. It's only 5 to 6%. What does it mean? It means that there is a huge opportunity to grow this way beyond. And this coupled also with the fact that out of the 1.2 billion inhabitants in Africa, 600 million are without access to power. That shows additionally how much there could be more opportunity in this field. Now, Lekela, we have been created at the year of the Paris Climate Accord, 2015. We were a startup, starting at zero. Now, 4.5 years later, we're a company which has more than $1.2 billion in assets. Why did we do that? How did we do this? It's simple. I think Africa, and there are certain leadership countries within Africa which have embraced renewable power and have walked the talk over the last couple of years to implement these tremendous opportunities. And I would like to congratulate in particular Egypt for its leadership in this particular field. I would suggest that Egypt has one of the most advanced and challenging targets in renewable power. 20% of the overall capacity is going to come from renewable power by 2022, and a whopping 42% by 2035. This is a target which is incredibly challenging, however, very much achievable.
That sounds tremendous, Chris. I'm going to have to let you land there on that wonderful pregnant thought, because it's amazing, 42% by 2035. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Chris Antonopoulos. I know you had more to say, but I think you said it, and you said it really well. So thank you very much indeed for joining us on stage. And from 0 to 1.2 billion in 4 years, that's tremendous. It's going to continue. Thank you very much indeed, Chief Executive of Lekela, Chris Antonopoulos. Let's go to a company that is a lot bigger. It's making investments all over the world, has done for a long time, but it's very, very keen on the African continent. That company is Cisco, which is the worldwide leader in IT and networking. And I'm delighted to say we have Ms. Charmaine Ouvet, who is the Government Affairs and Public Policy Director for Africa at Cisco. There she goes. Charmaine, we only met about an hour or so ago, and we had a little chat backstage, and your area is fascinating. You're driving digital agenda conversations with governments at the highest level. So I want to know, and let us all know, a little private conversation, what kind of conversations are you having with President El-Sisi and Dr. Nasser and others about this, and what kind of impacts are those conversations having on the ground?
Thank you very much. So I think top of mind for us as Cisco, of course, is first and foremost education. Education is key for us, and actually ensuring that we democratize education is critical. One of the very important programs that we've taken continent-wide and globally is Cisco's Networking Academy, where we actually ensure that we digitize classrooms with partners, of course, like Fiber Mesa here in Egypt. We go out and we ensure broadband connectivity for us to start to change the narrative for the African child, because often we are inundated with reports that say that we are far from ready from adopting and embracing the fourth industrial revolution. So, of course, we have to ensure that we start building the next generation of digital natives, and that's quite critical for us when we actually talk to governments. Very closely linked to that, of course, is the growth of small business, development opportunities for entrepreneurs, of course, and making sure that, like many of the country's reports, from South Africa's National Development Plan 2030 to Kenya's Digital Growth Plan and the different pillars, all the way here to Egypt, we know that the next wave of jobs are not going to come from us as corporates, they're coming from small businesses and entrepreneurs. So it's important for us to create the incubation centers for these small businesses, and we've actually rolled out quite a number of these across from South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, all the way through to ensure that our businesses are incubated and they're going to bring across the next wave of jobs. And of course, most importantly, that the very big asset, who's our youth, are not always yearning for the likes of Silicon Valley. They're not always yearning to go out and solve challenges there, but that we actually equip them with the right skills to start solving for Africa's unique challenges. And I think very closely linked to that, of course, is the support that we actually give to President Ramaphosa's 4IR Commission, right through to, of course, the amazing support that we'll give to Egypt and the Artificial Intelligence Council that was now set up. It's very important for us to ensure that the right conversations are being had around policy and regulation inclusion. And again, I think these are the committees that make bold decisions, like taking a laptop and placing the laptop in the child or a tablet in each and every child's hand, so that they start to drive the real conversations, not academic conversations, but real conversations around how does Africa benefit from the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, and how do we start using some of these amazing technologies like artificial intelligence, big data, etc., to start solving our problems from agriculture through to water, to food shortage, etc. And then I think finally, what's also quite critical for us is ensuring that these go hand in hand with different investments, especially for women and children. We worked with a number of refugee centers across Kenya, across Rwanda, and now recently in Ethiopia, where we're actually taking technology to a lot of these refugee camps. And interestingly, a lot of the girls who are in these refugee camps are the ones who are asking us to bring things like cybersecurity and other skills so that they can take these out into the world and actually start leading in these. So empowering women is also very, very critical to us. And of course, in closing, I think there's never been a better time than there is right now to invest in Africa. I thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much to Charmaine Ouvet, who leads on government affairs and public policy at Cisco. Thank you very much. Chatting and discussing with presidents, but also people in refugee camps. That's superb to hear. Now, you mentioned digital natives and incubation. Well, I can produce an Egyptian digital native who has been so well incubated that he was the runner-up of the Jack Ma Heroes Prize, and he got this just a couple of days ago in Accra, Ghana. Please welcome Dr. Omar Sakr, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Nawa Scientific. He's from Egypt, so give him an extra round of applause. He's a digital native. First of all, congratulations on nearly winning the Jack Ma African Heroes Prize. You came second, and I think you got a bit of money and some backing from Jack. Very good indeed. So I'm told, in fact it was you who told me, that your slogan, "Give science a chance in Africa," was a winning slogan. Explain why you chose those words.
Okay, thank you, Henry, for the kind introduction and the burning question. But to our dear guests, I would love to answer this question in Arabic, so I beg your pardon.
Your Excellency, the President, Your Excellencies, the Ministers, it's an honor to be here before you all, representing a generation of Egyptian entrepreneurs and African entrepreneurs. And I'd like to share with you is just a short story where I can answer the question, the Henry's question, the story of science and scientists in Africa and Egypt. Egypt and Africa, we have more than 1 million scholars in the medical sciences and in the sciences. Can we please go to the next slide? Most of them have distinguished minds. They have studied abroad. Some of them, they have returned back home. But the problem that we always face, that the available laboratories were not enough. There is a big gap between the supply and the demand and the capacities of our peers. In 2014, a group of my colleagues and me, we tried to develop a solution for such a problem. That's why we have reached Nawa Scientific. Nawa Center is the first research center which is affiliated completely to the private sector. It is multidisciplinary, and what is distinguished that we have that all our services are through an electronic platform. Please let me share this platform with you. We are serving individuals as the medical scholars, medical researchers, the students of Faculty of Engineering, of Science and Medicine. So our client, let's say that he has a chemical material and he'd like to see the purity of this material, so he can send the request on the website. The next slide, please. And the samples can reach us by a representative and Nawa team. They do all the tests. The nice thing that we are doing, that the doctor or the company, wherever their place and whatever the laboratories they have, they can conduct their researches at our labs. That's why some of the companies, they decided not to open their own laboratories, and they are assisted by our labs. This is our journey through 4 years, and we have analyzed more than 25,000 samples from 32 universities, 9 countries, one only from Egypt. And we have a very ambitious plan to establish a series of research centers, highly equipped, connected together, so that we can empower all the scientific community in Africa. This project is estimated to attract investments that will exceed more more than $100 billion and creating more than 1,000 job opportunities for high calibers in Africa. This project will have unlimited impact, and not only that we are going to unleash the capacities of the Africans to solve Africa's problems, but we are going to open all doors for the startups to access the medical fields. Now these fields are so difficult to access because it needs high investments to establish labs, but we are here. Our journey was not easy. We have started with just a food warehouse, and we worked on this warehouse and we transformed it to lab. We were about to bankrupt for several times, but because we were so determined and we believed our dream, we could proceed, and we have appeared in the forum of 2017. And this forum really brought us a lot of luck. We got the first rank as an entrepreneurs, and we have been honored by Dr. Khalid, the Minister of Scientific Research. In 2018, we have achieved the support of the Minister of the Ministry of Investment, Her Excellency Minister of Dr. Sahar Nasr, and we have been supported by more than $1 million. And finally, this year, I just returned from Ghana, from Accra, the capital of Ghana, from one of the biggest competitions of entrepreneurship, and we have achieved the second rank. Nawaz's team can believe that all the problems of Africa can be solved by science. That's why our slogan is give science a chance in Africa. Thank you.
Chief Executive Officer of the NAWA Scientific. Wonderful. Omar, you went a little bit over your time, but that's fine because you were so in your flow, and because you're young and you're from Egypt, I thought we have to be liberal with you. Congratulations one more time. Fantastic. It's great to see you there. We're going to talk to another institution now. This one is based here in Egypt, and it is a bank that has a very, very important role to play when it comes to export and import from this continent. Please welcome the President and Chairman of the Board of Directors for the African Export-Import Bank, Professor Benedict Oke Orama. Please welcome Professor Benedict Oke Orama, Afrexim Bank, based here in Egypt. Professor, it's good to see you here. Now, as we were discussing earlier, Africans up and down this continent have been celebrating this new African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which happened under the chairmanship of His Excellency President El-Sisi. Now, we know it goes live on the 1st of July 2020, but I'm just wondering what role Afrexim will be playing to help drive this forward and implement what has been discussed and agreed in Addis. Implementation.
Thank you very much, Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Africa is on the move. As I look around this city, the new capital of Egypt, a city that rose from the sands of the desert, it tells me what will happen when visionaries are committed to their dreams. I will thank His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for the leadership. Just as Egypt is making waves, Africa is also on the rise. Like the Egyptian bird, the phoenix that died and rose from his ashes, Africa is once again on the move. And just this year, the AfCFTA entered into its operational phase. Afrexim Bank was committed to support that operational phase. That is why we are every day doing everything to deliver on that. We committed to disburse $25 billion to help meet the trade finance gap for Africa, especially for intra-African trade. And we have done $15 billion of that. We know that international banks do not want I do not like to support intra-African trade because of high country risk. And that is why we committed to provide letter of credit confirmation lines to 500 African banks in an amount of $8 billion. And we have onboarded more than 350 banks. In Africa, payments is a problem. The cost of paying to move money around in Africa is estimated at more than $5 billion per annum. And that's why we've launched the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. What that means is that an Egyptian that wants to buy goods from Kenya can pay for that in Egyptian pound, and the Kenyan will receive Kenyan shilling. That will open new vistas for intra-African trade. And on July 1, as you said, the AfCFTA will open, the trading will start. But what will determine the borders that will be opened is what happens, how countries see the impact on their fiscal revenues. And that is why Afreximbank has worked with the African Union to put in place an AfCFTA adjustment facility of $4 billion, of which we have committed $1 billion. And that is intended to help countries to achieve an orderly adjustment to the fiscal stresses that will happen in the early years of the AfCFTA. And we have launched the Intra-African Trade Fair. We did the first one here in December 2018. The second one is happening next year. That will help create the market, provide the information that is today the bane of intra-African trade.
Wonderful. Professor, thank you very much indeed. That's a powerful story to tell, and we're delighted you're at the forefront of telling it and driving it forward with these new open vistas as you've described them. Thank you very much to Professor Benedict Oke-Orama, President and Chairman of the Board at Afreximbank. Wonderful. Now, our final speaker in this round is the Chief Executive of a new organization. It was only born at the end of September this year in the United States. And I'm told that this is the answer to the question that a lot of people have been asking. People are saying, India is working heavily with Africa. So is China. So are all these other parts of the world. Japan is as well. What is the United States doing? Well, I'm told this new institution, the United States International Development Finance Corporation, is the answer to that question. Please welcome Mr. Adam Böhler, and he's right here on stage, as if on cue. Excellent. So, Adam, can you tell us more? What exactly is this International Development Finance Corporation? What exactly does it mean? What exactly does it represent? And how much money do you have to invest? What are you going to do here?
Everybody always wants to know how much money, huh?
Yes.
Well, first, on behalf of the United States of America, I want to thank the President for hosting us. And my presence here is a strong sign of our commitment and friendship to this great country. So thank you very much for having me. Let me start by introducing the investment bank that I run, our commitment to Africa, and our commitment to Egypt specifically. I was established about a month and a half ago, so we're new. $60 billion of investment capital. We can do equity deals, debt deals, risk reinsurance, and we're open for business. We have a strong historical connection to the African continent. We have billions of dollars invested, and we're looking to put capital to work across energy, infrastructure, food, agriculture, and you will see us move quickly. We're optimistic about the future of Africa, and we're impatient because we're American. And we share that with Egypt and with the African countries that want to move quickly. In Egypt specifically, we are moving quickly. Later today, I'm going to announce a $430 million deal into Noble Energy that is going to increase the natural gas amount in Egypt by 11%. And our goal is to get natural gas down to electricity to the average Egyptian, because we want to make electricity more affordable. And one thing I'll compliment this president and this country on is going through some really difficult reforms with IMF. And it took a lot of backbone and commitment to go through that, and that lets me as part of the United States delegation, show and make a commitment to you to work together going forward. So I'm very much looking forward to working closely with Egypt as a leader in Africa, in their Pan-African efforts, and broadly across the continent. We're open for business. We're looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Adam, one more question before I let you go. What's driving your optimism? Where does it come from?
You know, where some people see problems, unemployment, we see opportunity. I see a human capital workforce that is not used that we can use. And so I see so much opportunity in this continent. And you know, people say, hey, it hasn't moving quick enough, but look at Africa over the last few decades to where they are today. Look at how strong the country has become, and look at where it will be in 2030, where you're going to have a majority of the world's population in this continent. We're extremely excited in the United States about that, and excited to be partners with our local countries here.
Excellent. Adam, thank you very much indeed for joining us on stage. Please put your hands together for Adam Berler, Chief Executive Officer of the United States International Development Finance Corporation. Thank you very much indeed. So we've heard from 6 participants. They're all going to be playing a role over the next day or two. So are you. But there's one person we haven't yet heard from, and I think it is time we did. He is our host. It is on his watch that this free trade agreement was signed, and there is so much optimism. We're here in this new administrative capital. So please welcome His Excellency Abdel Fattah El-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt.
In the name of God Almighty and Merciful, Highness, heads of delegations, distinguished and honorable guest heads of international financial institutions, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you again in Egypt, in the new capital, this place which reflects the possibility to change a dream into a reality whenever there is a political will. What is beneficial to the population of the continent. We meet today in the Africa 2000 Investment for Africa Forum to examine together what we have started some years ago of common and joint efforts toward achieving for our populations the aspired for development, a development that has to overcome challenges that you all know about, and in a surrounding filled with difficulties to write down a new future entitled A Better Future for all the populations of the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt during its chairmanship of the African Union has worked strenuously to overcome these difficulties with its brothers, African brothers, to achieve African integration. The enforcement of the African Free Trade Development Agreement landmark to indicate the integration of the continent, and marking as well the agglomeration of 2.5 billion persons brought together to trade and commerce and free more than 90% of the exchanged goods and services for the African citizens, and it is an achievement to be capitalized on, and this also is going to raise the African growth, which is about 15% only for the time being. This development for the African continent will increase the flow of investment in African countries and will help African countries face the difficulties of global economy. Such difficulties impose on us to find solutions in order to transform the continent into a global industrialization hub, attract more FDIs, increase productivity, enhance growth, and achieve utterly prosperity for our population. Ladies and gentlemen, the success of Africa to achieve sustainable development requires that we accelerate the pace of our efforts and work, improve infrastructures, through trans-border and cross-border projects like the linking of Cairo through a road corridor to Cape Town, linking also to the Mediterranean to Victoria Lake. And I am from here, I'm exalting Investment Bank and all the partners of Africa in development to join our efforts and work with us to achieve our aspirations and improve our infrastructures. We hope to obtain the best conditions in line with our priorities, and we call upon private sector institutions and multilateral institutions to come and invest here in Africa, which is rich with its potential. And the development of Africa is not the sole responsibility of governments. It requires a broad partnership with the private sector, and the governments should meanwhile provide an enabling environment to make it easier for investors to work here and bring in their investment. And this framework we have in parallel with this, the reform in tandem with our African countries to achieve the welfare and prosperity for our populations, tightened our relation and our cooperation in this respect. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that our dialogue is constructive and that the session of this forum are fruitful to reach together recommendations that capitalize on what have been achieved, particularly that the topics before us for discussions are channeled to achieving sustainable and inclusive development, achieve transformation, digital transformation, and invest in human capital. Our African populations are in fact following closely all our meeting and gathering, and do hope to reap the fruits of our work. We are working toward this end, and we are going to work together to achieve this purpose. We want to open a door of hope and achieve multiple and I'm here asking all the investment funds that development is a choice, and we have to help our youth who represent our real wealth and who is looking forward to fulfill its ambition and its dreams, and who is looking forward job opportunities to achieve a better life. We came here to looking to achieve better development, capitalize on what we have already done, and we have to do more effort and harness all our investment opportunities together with all the investors from around the world. And in Egypt, we have started our journey on the path of building up our development objectives to achieve a better future for our population in Egypt and in Africa. Long live Egypt, long live Africa, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.